This episode of the Leap Forward podcast is brought to you by Bridge LT, leaders in conversational learning and innovation. Through AI role plays, technical simulators, and comprehensive training programs, Bridge LT is revolutionizing the future of corporate and enterprise education.
On this episode of Leap Forward, we welcome Mark Sowerby of Drive, an expert in automotive PR and communications. Mark explores the specialized, high-growth sector of automotive tech suppliers who are revolutionizing dealer efficiency and profitability. He discusses his journey building a niche agency and emphasizes that effective communication is the engine driving these emerging businesses. So I'm really excited and delighted to welcome Mark Sowerby from the agency Drive here to this episode of Leap Forward. Mark, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah, delighted to be here.
So let's kick in. So for those that don't know Drive, kind of what do you do differently and what sort of impact are you kind of most proud of?
We're a PR and communications agency specialising in automotive, but it's quite even niche within that automotive space. A number of our clients are suppliers in the automotive retail area. So a lot of tech businesses actually that try and integrate their tech solutions into dealer management systems to increase efficiency, productivity and profitability. So quite niche. When you first talk to people that's where you work, the response is surely you can't build a business in that area. But actually there are so many, and there are so many emerging businesses in that space, a number of which you've already had on the podcast, that it's a really interesting area to work in and to build a business in. The other side of automotive we work in is automotive parts as well. So we have a big client, a global leader, parts manufacturer that we work with. And with all of these businesses, it's about communicating what they do as efficiently, as effectively as possible, be that a part they're trying to sell or be it a tech product that they're trying to integrate. And we'll work from almost a blank sheet of paper in terms of developing a brand, bringing a brand to life, professionalizing an emerging business, through to communicating on social media, in trade media, online, at events, and just bringing that business to life at a number of different touch points. We actually started out as a more, I guess, generalist B2B business many years ago, and had success in that space with clients in different areas, be it a European travel company, be it a construction business, be it all kinds of different businesses, always B2B. But when we looked at our sort of next phase of growth and development as a business, we wanted to have an edge and wanted to stand for something and wanted to, have a reason to work with us alongside the quality of work. So we looked at the clients we had, the experiences we had, the type of work we were doing, what was fun for us, and that automotive space ticked a number of boxes. So we put our eggs into that basket and fully threw ourselves into it. And that's where Drive Agency emerged from, and has been successful since.
Amazing. So let's just rewind a little bit further. So love the kind of shift from sort of general sort of B2B into kind of, where you are now, which is this, mining this rich scene, this niche, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's riches in those, aren't there, as they say.
Absolutely.
Go back to the beginning, kind of give me a kind of plotted history of kind of what led you to Drive, I suppose, in a sense. What were the key milestones, and what did you learn along the way?
From a personal perspective,
like how did you get there?
Probably quite a journey with a number of bends and twists and turns. I did a law degree at university. It wasn't quite for me. I did a number of bits of work experience whilst I was doing it. Completed those, but wasn't quite getting the buzz or the thrill from it or the excitement that my peer group were. Completed that degree, and decided where to go next. But actually, as part of that journey, was thinking, actually, it's the communication side of this. I really like how cases can turn on a sentence or a word, or it was that power of language that came through. And that led me into marketing and PR initially as a first discipline. But what I almost didn't like about PR, or that I found frustrating about PR, was the lack of control to the end. So we could do as good a job as we could, but it was always in someone else's hands ultimately as to whether work was appearing in the public domain or having the impact that we felt it should have. So throughout my career, that then changed from PR into more sort of copywriting, where there was had more control over where that was appearing, and we had that ultimate control over what we were saying and how it was conveyed and where it would appear. So that was agency side, and I was working in agencies doing that. A big sort of automotive agency was where I cut my teeth in automotive. The agency worked with a number of General Motors brands at the time. Vauxhall Saab, Chevrolet, Cadillac, Corvette, and Hummer were
Wow.
big brands in the agency. And I was immersed in retailer marketing at that point. So was exposed to a number of different marketing elements alongside PR, and was inquisitive about each, started to see how they would knit together. Um, I guess moved away from just writing into understanding more brand development, how the different comms channels fitted together, how to build a strategy. And through, to be honest, probably through redundancy and encouragement of my wife, I ended up freelancing myself and being an independent copywriter, as I started out as. One of the biggest clients we had as we grew that agency was in the automotive retail space. It was um, a retailer training organization that would sort of go into retailers, um, teach the sales team how to prospect and sell, and then help them run events to generate sales within the dealership. And hugely successful, grew very fast, exciting leadership team, different challenges that cropped up as they grew that we were able to help them address. And it really was a deep dive into what effective marketing looks like in that space. So when we reached the point of, okay, we need to really hone in on an area, we need to specialize. We'd built up so
Yeah.
much expertise in that area, had results that, we could prove that what we did worked. We enjoyed it, and we had a team that knew the space. So it became that's us. That's where we need to go. And I remember the first sort of meeting we had together to decide, do we specialize? Yeah, we do. Where do we go? And both of us came up with that as an option straight away. So it felt like a real moment and something to go for, and felt like the right decision.
Wow. When was that?
We probably had that meeting, I don't know, 9 years ago, and had it as okay, this is what we need to do. And
Yeah.
then, I don't know, started on marketing ourselves. What are we called? What do we stand for? Building that whole sort of platform that we could launch from. And went to launch around the time of COVID, to be honest. So we slightly put brakes on a little bit of the rebrand, not necessarily the work we were doing. We were still working with clients in that space, but with everything that went on around that time, we just paused on the rebrand a little bit until we fully relaunched. And as we emerged from COVID and into where we are now, I guess, that's when we were able to sort of properly launch Drive Agency, I'd suggest. But it's the same people. So we have the same agency, the same people working with us, but really now focused around that automotive tech space. And it's a really sort of fulfilling, joyous moment to be in with a prospect or a team talking about, okay, why us? And then we're able to go, because X, Y, and Z, because we've worked in this space. We know this media. We've been at this event. We've probably seen you at this event. You'll have seen some of our work. We understand the pain points of your customers. And it makes those initial business development conversations flow really well. that almost we get the product before we're in there, we get the solution before we're in there. It's not having to be explained to us. There'll be little nuances,
Yeah.
of course, with
Yeah.
the solution, but a lot of the time we're in there, we get it. We've probably read about them. We know we'll already have an idea of probably a direction we can take from a comms messaging perspective. It's just, I guess, where the client is at that moment in their journey as a sort of growth journey, and what specific types of support they need at that time. We've we've worked with a lot of businesses that are in their early growth stage.
Hmm.
So a lot of our clients would probably class themselves as startups. And we've been with them on their journey from startup probably to an acquisition point. We've had 2 or 3 clients that have been through that process. And there's a real need to be able to flex with them as they grow, because probably the challenge you have in the first meeting isn't ultimately the challenge that is there at the end. There's growth. The product might change from X to Y to Z in a 3-month period. So being able to communicate that in a consistent way and establish a consistent brand presence for a client is quite a skill to have, because you need to be nimble on your feet. I think initially for some of the creative teams and the designers that had planned, I don't know, a particular campaign to look a certain way, this is how we talk about. Yes, we still talk about that way, but we have to flip it to target a new demographic. So it's not, I think a lot of the bigger clients that you can have that grow or are number one already, it's quite a steady, managed flow of messaging that you might have over a 6, 12, 18-month period. With a number of the clients we've worked with, it's rapid fire. I think pivot is a phrase, but it's pivot from one area to the next, and being able to be alongside them as they go through that and help them communicate something slightly nuanced and different, but in a consistent way, is a skill that we've built up over time.
That's really interesting. I was going to ask you about sort of the shift that I guess you've seen in sort of, kind of client expectations sort of, over that
Yeah.
period, really.
Pace, velocity. It's when I first started out in agency life, there would be a phone call to plan a meeting. You would drive to the meeting, you would have the meeting, you would come back, you would write the contact report the next day, you would then email the contact report, everyone would agree the actions on the contact report. So you're probably 2-3 days into a process before everyone's aligned on where they may be going with the next steps. Now, you're right at the other end of the scale. You're probably on a Teams call that's being AI transcribed. The moment you come off the call, there's some actions that are being put to you that are actually, this is probably where we've aligned, and then you're off and running into deliverables straight away. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges, is managing that pace,
Mm-hmm.
because understandably our clients are under pressure in their organization to get results, to be productive, to show high performance, to show deliverables that are working really quickly. But there still needs to be time on our side for a creative process to take place. There is a challenge with tools like, I guess, Canva as an example, that has emerged as you can use this and you can be a designer too, and you can suddenly turn around your whole marketing suite all on this online platform very quickly. Now, there is certainly a place for a Canva tool. It works in a certain area, but in the type of work that we do, it won't help you come up with a winter campaign that needs to cover multitude of touch points, join up at every section and look consistent across all of those areas. So it's a managing expectations job on our side with the client to be able to just push back a little bit where there's opportunity and where it's right to push back on a deadline, to give time to breathe, to give time to explore, to give time to understand where everyone is at that moment in time. Um, Empathy is a sort of, interestingly, organizing thoughts for this podcast, thinking about
Hmm.
where I've come from. I think empathy is a part of my leadership style or approach. And that's in a number of different ways. That's with a client. So understanding the actual client we're working with, what pressures are they under in their business? What pressures in their day-to-day lives are we helping? But then putting ourselves in their customers, their target audience shoes, so having empathy there and understanding where they're coming from. And then even internally, obviously, with our team as well. So understanding what our team need to deliver the best work, and then managing all of those situations to get to a point where we get the optimum result. And sometimes that'll be, we just need an extra couple of days to explore this. The time frame for this isn't realistic. Now there are hard stops sometimes. In There's an event, it needs to happen for
Hmm.
them, we need to deliver something, that's fine. But I think just working and building relationships with clients as people, so we're able to go on a journey together through delivering a solution is really important. That the whole aspect of, I guess, people buying from people, or um, choosing a long-term marketing partner because of the types of people that you're working with, the trust you can build, the understanding you build together, the things that work together, the things that don't work together
Hmm.
that you can refine and build on. You you sort of hone those over time, and we're proud of the relationships we've had as an agency. You know, a lot of them, um, we have retained relationships with a number of clients that have been built up over years, and that is through a good personal relationship with those clients as well, understanding them as people,
Hmm.
and being ourselves, being who we really are with those clients as well. And sometimes we'll get an email address from the organization, so that type of relationship. Um, but yeah, and that's what we take fulfillment and enjoy, or certainly what I do as well, is feeling a part of all of those organizations that are growing, that are pushing the boundaries with their tech, that are smiling and that are happy because they're landing the types of work that they want because we're supporting them along the way.
It's really interesting. I love the sort of AI kind of transcription sort of piece of your kind of kind of process. How kind of is AI and technology, I suppose, sort of changing the way you work? Both internally as a business, but also with your clients.
That's an interesting question. And we've, psychologically, I've probably been on an AI journey for quite a while because we have an AI client. So one of our clients works in automotive retail. They have an AI based solution that will, going to oversimplify it probably, but will maintain a gold standard of customer and vehicle data within the retailer, and then has uh, a conversation tool that will have a number of different back and forth conversations with customers, to generate leads ultimately and to support customer satisfaction and drive revenue. Which seemed impossible to me about 5 years ago. It was like, well, what is this? How does it work? And it's able to do that. And okay, let's start to get it. And then think about how we craft messaging for that retailer audience, because there's a lot of skepticism, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of excitement as well in some places around what AI can deliver. Um, but actually then starting to understand that it to date has almost been a productivity tool. So there's an element of 20-30%, well, for argument's sake, in terms of a figure of productivity that AI can deliver well. probably. So things like a transcription tool in meetings, things like I don't know, tools that are currently built within design tools. So things in Photoshop that it's trying to introduce. Um, there's elements within there that can take away some of that. Don't want to call it back office work. That's not right, but it can take away some of the more sort of
Production-y type
production-y
sort of,
led
yeah.
productivity type activities. That frees up that 30% for us, for the team to be on a phone with a client, having a conversation with a client, doing that personal stuff that we're really good at. And that's really important. So, even if it's reporting as well, so taking away reporting. So we're looking at how to bring that into the business to free up that 25-30% of our time so that we can then be more creative, more personable, more client focused. And to be honest, like I mentioned earlier, free up some of that time for creative space as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah, and strategy as well,
and
right? Because you're
strategy.
talking about thinking and you're talking about having that time element
Yes,
in a lean, agile kind of environment. That's, you still need to think, right, before you do, right?
exactly. And if it saves 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours, they add up over time so that it gives us that space. So those are ways that we're looking at incorporating AI within the agency that build internal relationships with us and some external with the clients. There are other things at a very early stage, like trying to just build some tools, some reporting tools for us and for clients as well. So that might be, um, you know, cost analysis or timesheet analysis or just productivity analysis tools or even media monitoring tools. Things we're trying to experiment with the extra time we have, trying to
Hmm.
experiment with at the moment to free us up from additional costs or additional time that we're spending in certain areas. So um, that's that's how we're trying
Yeah.
to embrace it at the moment.
It's interesting when you talk about, building products yourselves and you've used the term time quite a bit in
Yeah,
this kind of conversation. What's your kind of view of kind of where I guess the agency model is around continuing to charge for time versus charging for outcomes and outputs and so forth?
it's spiraling down if you continue to charge for time. Everything's about a valuable outcome. It's what the value that we deliver for clients. I think when we very first started out, it was timesheets were a big thing. Now they still are internally for
Yeah.
us in terms of okay, right people, right seats, right level of work going through. But if we're working on projects for clients, ultimately it's about the value we're able to create for them. Um, and I think commoditizing what we deliver, what we do, you're putting yourself in reverse very quickly if you're sort of ex- producing everything on time, um, because for example, a well received, high impact ad campaign might be the first thing that you think of. Right, it's taken you 30 minutes to come up with. No, I don't know. That's an ideal scenario. It's taken you 30 minutes to come up with. You've been able to deliver it creatively in a very short space of time. It's going to have the same value, well, similar value and impact for the client as something that's taken 2-3 days, a week, 2 weeks to come up with. So it's about over time understanding our role for the client, the value we create from them, and then the the value aligned to that from a financial perspective as well. Um, it's I think there's also in the early days of the agency a hangover from working as an independent consultant as well, because the natural thing, certainly when I was doing it at the time, was okay, what's my day rate? Right, it
Hmm.
is X. How do I break that down into 8 hours over a date? Right, there's my hourly rate. And then that was a thing that happened. And it just, you had to do it to almost get a foot in the door with someone and
Yeah.
prove yourself. But that was it was a very good grounding in a way of understanding that value proposition. Is like first starting out as a freelancer. Okay, right, it's time. There's the hours that I'll do. But then, the more work you do, the more clients you work with, the more products you work, the more challenges you solve, then it's value. That's what you're ultimately delivering. That the impact you have, there's the real value in that.
Yeah, it's fascinating, that journey. Um, let's talk about, I mean, getting a real sense of kind of the Drive agency kind of culture from kind of how you're describing kind of the work and the business. What do you look for in new hires, and how do you kind of create a culture where people want to stay and grow?
We look for good human beings ultimately. There are obviously skills that we put out there in terms of a job ad that might be created, for example. But actually, when you're face to face with people and you're talking through their experiences and their approaches and how they like to work, then it's trying to work with good people that enthusiastic, motivated. It's very much the um, I don't know, people that'll throw themselves in and will adapt to different opportunities than going 100% on you must have X, Y, and Z ticked off on a CV to be able to work for us. And we've got a team that have worked. We've got two employees that have just had their 10-year anniversary working
Wow.
with us. That have been with us since the early stages. That we've seen develop as individuals, as human beings, as skilled people, as family people, as really good members of the team and valued members of the team. And honestly, I don't know what we went to look for in them when we went into the initial interviews, but it's just almost a human connection you have as well. Like when someone's explaining their approach to pieces of work or their career to date or how they face a challenge, then you can get a feel for what an individual's inner drive is, I think, as much as you can in sort of
Hmm.
I don't know, a 1 hour, 2 hour interview process. So in terms of welcoming people into the business, that's the early stages of how we've operated. I think in terms of ongoing development, it's a bit like a family, we just have ongoing conversation with people. What's working for you? What's not working for you? Where do you want to grow? How can we help in that space? What types of work would you like to do? What different clients should we be exploring? Um, and using 2 ears, 1 mouth from our perspective is sort of an approach that I know I've never called it that actually until I'm a big rugby fan. Bath Rugby have had a very successful year. Their coach this season, Johan van Graan, has done an amazing job over 3 seasons to turn a team from probably underperformers to treble winners. And one of his key phrases is 2 ears, 1 mouth, which he's talked about a lot in interviews, and it reflects a lot on our approach. So I'm more of a listener, soak in, than come in and try and say, this is how we're going to do this, or certainly that's how I would try to be. And I think that's been a key part of growth from a business perspective and a people perspective. So I take huge satisfaction from seeing our team's families grow at home as well. Seeing people, like 10 years is a long time in
Yeah.
terms of a business life, but a personal life as well. So going to weddings or seeing kids' photos and families developing is really sort of a big part of that sort of agency satisfaction as
Yeah.
well for us. And taking challenges on as well, and having those, I guess, a bit like you would in a family as well, having those tricky conversations with people that at certain points where you need to, but knowing that it's coming from a good place and the right place. is a real important part of honing a relationship over time. Not being afraid of picking up the sort of tricky bits of where we are as a growth point in the agency, which, you know, because you've built up trust over time, there's an openness around a conversation that allows you to find a way to move on, and often move on towards a better space. It's a bit like the creative process, actually. You know, challenge being a good part of finding the right creative solution. You know, round one, round two, well, we've nailed this. It's like absolutely flying with this. Then not being afraid to play devil's advocate, challenge where it's coming from, where might some of the holes be, and being open to challenge on an idea that, you know, I might have come up with myself, or someone might have come up with. Initially, you're like, oh, okay, maybe it hasn't hit it. But then there's an opportunity to really chisel away, really refine, and find something that's even better. So there's sort of interesting reflections there on those two things.
Are there any kind of systems or habits that you kind of swear by?
To be honest, I think the 2 ears, 1 mouth is it. You know, there's a reason for the 2 ears and the 1 mouth. Is listen, is assimilate, is take a deep breath as well. It's like, okay, right, don't try and manage emotion, try and remain steady throughout whatever might be coming. So whether that is amazing news, yes, celebrate it, but remain on a level and understand where you are at that point. If something is a real challenge, understand that that's what it is, embrace that, but then try and remain on a level to work your way through that.
That's a really good observation,
Yeah.
perception. Yeah, I like it.
And just finding that listening within all of those situations is a key part of that. Again, just to understand where everyone is at that moment in time, and not basing a decision on solely what is in my head. And that's something that I've learned over time. You know, as a freelancer on my own, I had to do that. It was me and solely me, probably at that point, directing where I was going, and moving into agency life. That's something that has I guess sharpened and developed over that time. And being a dad too, to be honest. You know, the development of watching children develop is much the same way as watching a team develop as well. It's about sort of creating a secure foundation where everyone feels safe, and then providing encouragement for people to explore, knowing that if they fall over, you'll be there to help pick them up. Or if they explore and something is great, then you celebrate it together and figure out what the next thing is that you can move on towards. And I think that applies as much for the development of my 7-year-old son as it does for teams within an agency as well.
Really interesting parallels between a dad and a leader in a business, right?
Yeah, and it's helped in a number of ways. I was almost. It was really hard for me in the early days to let things go. I think, you know, it's an agency that we're building together. It's really important that we deliver X, Y, and Z for clients. It's super important. Everything's perfect, and away we go.
Kind of your baby.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of our baby. And it's something that I've had to work with over time to sort of let things go and try and not be in control of anything. And that sort of delegation thing has been a growing part of my probably development in the last 10 years, but has become easier since I've had a son. And obviously there's a lot of uncontrollables within that dynamic that bring a bit of perspective to a personal life that then can translate into a professional life as well, you know. And it's certainly, there's a lot of transferable moments, skills, experiences that I hadn't anticipated in fatherhood that have really, I don't know, supported my growth my personal growth from a business perspective in the recent times as well.
Yeah, I definitely found that sort of having kids, I mean, I work hard and everything, but I think having kids helped me sort of work smarter. I think it
Yeah.
was as well. That was a big thing.
Yeah, the sort of balance is a big part of, what I try and achieve now, and probably what good looks like is having the ability to combine being a good husband, a good dad, a good friend, and a good leader as well. I think if I'm ticking a lot of those boxes, then those are metrics that really matter to me. Being able to, I don't know, deliver a great campaign for a client, create an environment where the team are able to grow, be themselves, do work that they're proud of, but then at the same time be able to have a couple of hours that I can manage to be at my son's sports day, for example, and see him achieve there. And achieving a balance across all of those feels good. And I think that's what good looks like and drives decisions and the environment that we create for our team as well.
You used the phrase metrics that matter just then. And it's
Yeah.
really interesting because it was sort of like we talked a little bit about time and, and sort of, timesheets useful internally, but not, and, pricing and value and so forth. When you look at the business, kind of like what numbers do you really care about when running it and why?
Um, I mean, margin is obviously one. So you're able to continue to grow and exist as a business and continue that growth forward. Um, but a lot of the other metrics are based around the people that work for us and the
Yeah.
type of work that we're doing. Are our people happy? And we can you can see and feel that, less so if you're on Teams, more so if you're meeting face to face. But are people happy? Are they continuing to grow? Does it are people feeling like they're doing their best work? Um, are we working on the types of projects that we want to be working on? Do we have the types of clients we want to be working with? How are we feeling about the work that we're putting out there? So a lot of it is like an emotional basis to it as well. There's a, I don't know, wanting to build a good business where good people are doing good work for good clients. That's ultimately where we want to get to. What good looks like might be different from one client to the next, depending on whether it's a world number one we're working with, whether it's a startup we're working with. But to get positive feedback from them, whether that is anecdotally on a phone call, whether it's a simple comment in an email around, wow, absolutely nailed that comes back. There's a feeling you can get as you're growing and you're delivering work, that indicates that we're on the way to moving where we want to. We've done things like Drum recommended before as well, where it's sort of anonymized client satisfaction surveys as well, where you get qualitative and quantitative data back around performance in that regard. So they're a good indication. But I would say because we're able to be immersed leading the business in the work that's going on and in those client relationships, we can see, touch, feel, hear whether what we're doing is working and resonating and hitting the spot for clients.
Interesting. Looking forward, what are you kind of most excited about? Or if you, we can paint a different picture and sort of concerned about, I suppose, over the next kind of 2 or 3 years.
I think there's always, it's probably come across in a lot of what I've been saying here that I'm a people person. I like working alongside people, with the people clients that we have. And I think in B2B, there's going to be a growing role for people to come forward to help promote their brands as well. Like, there's, if you take, the proliferation of ChatGPT and written ChatGPT content now that is starting to appear in a number of different places. Take LinkedIn, for example, that is probably flooded with quite a lot of that ChatGPT written content. Some of it good, some of it not so good. But there's an element of, I think, a lack of trust developing around embracing that type of content. Where has that actually come from? I don't think that has come from the company CEO or the product specialist, really. But actually, at the moment, if you get them in front of a video, if you put individuals from the business in front of a video, if you have them face to face at events, if you are able to bring those people into more of those spaces, there's an opportunity to really build that trust and see the people and the family and the company behind that business, and to create a space for those people to come forward and to be the shining lights alongside the solutions that they're creating. I can see that there's a real opportunity there, and a real sort of exciting time to help people shine alongside their products, and help a number of people within organizations to shine as well. I think, obviously for a long time there have been CEO interviews, or there have been C-suite interviews that have pervaded media. I think there's an opportunity now, and I think you'll start to see it more and more, of a number of different people within an organization are able to prove what they do, prove their value, put their story out there to support their whole business growth. So it's an exciting time to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The rise, I suppose it's kind of like, to your point around trust, and sort of as a counter to kind of the AI side of things, it's sort of, for me, what you're sort of saying is you're talking about kind of authenticity.
Exactly. Yeah. I was interested myself to see how far AI could go in terms of like a video of me saying stuff online. So I played around with a few tools. In about 20 minutes, I had this horrendous sort of 1 minute showcase of me explaining Drive Agency and what we do. And, part of it, absolutely amazing. Within, 20 minutes, there's this 45-second video technically of me in my voice, sort of talking about Drive, but also prove that, it's not there. It's just not there at all. And there's going to be a space where you can be authentic. You need to be authentic. You need to be yourself. And, and to build that real human connection, that's going to be really important. That should be a gold star objective for businesses to build those relationships, certainly from a B2B side.
You talked about how you work with, clients, and you even, when you said, sometimes we even have the email address.
Yeah.
What role do you kind of see agencies playing as, the in-house kind of, I suppose, sort of like train, just continues to kind of grow, and those teams become more capable?
It's a trusted advisor. And then it just depends what role you take as a trusted advisor with that business. They might start out with nothing. It might just be a founder and a chief tech officer, amazing product. What do we do? Okay, bring us in as a marketing support that does the whole kit and caboodle. Then there might be a decision, okay, well, we'll bring a marketing exec in internally. We can work with them, we can support them as they grow. We take steps back, and the role slightly changes in terms of maybe less delivery, more strategy. And then it's a balancing role over time that we would take depending on particular client need. But there's a mix of skills that we have within the agency that enable us to sort of slot in and be quite agile as to whatever that need might be. And it is different. It is different depending on the size of organization, scale of organization, ambition of organization. And it's the benefits of the size of agency that we are. One of the benefits that we're able to
flex
and to fit in at an appropriate point with those clients.
Okay, so look, you looking back, I suppose, in a sense, if you could give kind of one piece of advice to someone starting out, in agency life today, what would it be?
Don't burn any bridges, or certainly not in automotive anyway, because everyone knows everyone, and you never know where the next opportunity is going to come up, where people are going to move to, where, I don't know, where people are going to crop up on a day-to-day basis. And you always want to maintain that professional presence, that good human presence, those good human relationships. Things are sometimes not going to work out the way you want them to, and just be professional about that, accept where that is at the moment and move on in a courteous, professional way, whether that is from one job to another job, whether that is from one client to another client. Just never burn those bridges and be professional in all of those different areas. The number of, I guess, people that I've met over time that have suddenly reappeared in a new scenario or a new setting or in a new event, and then open doors and opportunities to grow and find new experiences or new work or new opportunities. I haven't got enough fingers to count that on. So
it's a great piece of advice.
Yeah, just don't burn those bridges.
And you know what? It's funny, isn't it? Because to you, perhaps you mentioned something to them many years ago that, you don't even remember, but that stayed with them. And then lo and behold, they bump into you in a corridor in some event and they go, Mark, when you said that really, and that's...
Yeah, and that's it. And sometimes if things haven't worked out, those are moments for really powerful conversations or insights to fall into place. So if you can talk through those and then move on, the perspective that you have on that 5, 10, 15 years later stands you in good stead and lays the foundations for a relationship to be picked up again or an opportunity to be followed.
Okay, so a few kind of quick fire questions for you.
Okay, yeah.
First thing that comes in your head, if you could instantly master any skill, what would it be?
Time bending, so I could fit everything in.
I'm imagining now the juggling of the various kind of
Personally and professionally, I think I'm thinking there, but yeah, just time bending to be that good person in all of those scenarios. That'd be great.
Dream co-pilot for a long drive, alive or dead?
I've mentioned him already, but Johan van Graan would be an amazing co-pilot. Just to quiz him on how he's been able to transform Bath Rugby. I'm a supporter, but I'm just so interested in what that process has been like to get everyone on board, to turn what has seemed like a burden in terms of the pressure into actually a superpower to move forward in such a dramatic way. I think that would be really interesting.
I mean, leadership in sport and applying it to business is just
incredible.
There's so much wealth there still to be mined, right?
Yeah, it's massive. I'm a huge sports fan as well. So to be honest, you could probably pick anyone from a world of sport that would be a good co-pilot that I could quiz them about. But right now, after Bath season and as a season ticket holder, it'd have to be Johan, I think.
Other than time bending, what one piece of sci-fi do you wish existed?
I think it'd have to be like the teleporter Beam Me Up Scotty, because it would instantly have me from one country to... I'm a terrible flyer. It's the one thing in my life that I just can't control. I get sweaty palms when I'm there. And so if I could just go, Beam Me Up Scotty, right, I'm there. I'm in a holiday. I'm in a work destination. I'm no airport queues, no sitting on the plane. I'm there.
All right. And if Scotty could beam you anywhere, where would it be?
It would have to be Tokyo, because I spent 2 years there as a kid growing up.
Wow.
My dad worked for ICI. We grew up in the northeast in Billingham, which was almost grew up off the back of a chemical factory. Billingham, quite an industrial area. The furthest I'd been in those probably 10 years might have been to Newcastle to see the other parts of my family. So moving to Tokyo at that point was like just sea change from one extreme to the other. And it was an amazing time. We had 2 years there. Saw some amazing places, some brilliant experiences as a family that brought us closer together, that, I don't know, enabled me to grow as a person as well. Like confidence, communication, culture, those sorts of things that just experienced and learnt about. So I wouldn't go on my own. I'd take us all back to go there, and then our sort of, I don't know, kids and nephews and nieces, so everyone could go back together and experience that. Quite a nostalgic trip, that one, but it'd be really interesting to go back and see what it's like now.
Maybe drive Agency Tokyo office.
Maybe we're there. Yeah, that's a great shout. Yeah.
ultimate driving anthem?
Do you know what? I'd have to say 17 Going Under by Sam Fender. Again, northeastern roots. It's got a great chorus you can sing along to. And it's still playing in my head because I saw him about a month ago in London Stadium, absolutely smash it out of the park. So yeah, that would be it.
And finally, what Marvel superpower are you claiming?
Well, that would be my time bender, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it'd be Doctor Strange's time bending. You know, if I could master that, we're in. Happy days.
Dr. Mark Strange Sowerby, thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.
It's been a real
Justin.
pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Justin. It's been great.